Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Hao, bonjour, depending on the country. My name is Dominique Desjeux. I'm a French anthropologist. I'm working in Paris at the Sorbonne, Paris University, and also I'm an international consultant for many big companies. And now I would like to talk about a nice topic, the future as an exotic society. And if you look on the left of the slide, you can see Malinowski, who was one of the first anthropologists discovering a new world in 1918. In 1977, I discovered also a new world in Congo, and that is why I think it is possible to say nowadays that the ability to explore, describe, and decipher an exotic world, that is an unknown world, is the primary skill of most of anthropologists, and that is why it is possible to say the future is our new exotic world. The future is not only an unknown world, it is also an unpredictable world. In the meaning of the black swan, what means even if we have a long series of numbers, some events are impossible to predict, and that is very important. We have a very good example with COVID-19 nowadays. And I just choose, to show you some events that I was able to observe when doing, field studies, for instance, in Madagascar. And I saw this coup d'etat in 1971. In 1999, I observed all these bicycles in Denmark. At the time, 20 years ago, at the time when the future seemed to belong to cars. But I think the most interesting event I was able to observe was in China in 1977. And it was difficult to predict that 20 years later it would be one of the most important countries in the world. But at this time it was possible to make a link between the early 1945, 1930, 1975 years in Europe and the future of China. Now we understand that the future has some similarities with past situations, and particularly where emerging countries feel trapped. And we have a very interesting example given by Graham Allison in Destined for War. It was about 2,500 years ago when Athens had the feeling to be trapped by the control of the Greek area by Sparta. At the end of the 19th century, Germany had the same feeling to be trapped by the UK and France. And nowadays, and that is the similarity with a past situation, China has the same feeling to be trapped by the US. I'm not saying it's true or not. The main point is that observing past situation and nowadays situation, it is possible to ask if war would be or not a new event, a new unexpected event. And we understand now it is so difficult to predict something that we need to get a new method, a mobile knowledge method, which means we change of scales of observation or we change of scope of observation in order to find what would be the weak signals which indicates the direction of the future. And for instance, these sporks, it's a nice picture. I took this photo in Guangzhou in 2004. They are the weak signal of the growth of the Chinese middle class. And these growths produce the increase of the price of soybean, and then the price of pork in Western countries. And these increases weight on the purchasing power of the Western population, the lower middle class. And probably that would be one of the explanations of the Yellow Jacket movement in France a few years ago. And that means a distant event can influence a local situation, and that is why we need to change our scope of observation. And the conclusion, in terms very pragmatic, is that we have to learn how to improvise, like this young guy in São Paulo. He had no job. He had to create a new job in the street. And to finish, in an unexpected, exotic world, it is better to improvise through investigation and exploration of new paths and connections than to anticipate the way forward along known path. Thank you very much. And now I will give the screen to my colleague and friend, as it is said in French, Alan Patton, who will speak about how to imagine the future.